This LARP is rated M21+ for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi everybody, it's good to see you again. We're here to talk about Malleus episodes 3 and 4, and also the holiday special episode. But we're gonna probably end up breaking this into 3 parts because I know that these videos can get kind of long. Before I get into everything, I just really wanted to thank all of the new subscribers that have joined the channel, and I am just blown away. Thank you guys so much. It's really cool to see you come from Anthony's video. I'm so glad that it shed such a positive light on LARPing. It's really cool to see you guys here, and I'm really honored that you enjoy the content that I create, because man oh man, this channel and me are all about LARP, so thank you guys for sticking around. I also wanted to let you guys know that I now have a Ko-Fi. Yes, sparkly Ko-Fi. So Ko-Fi allows for both one-time donations and monthly subscriptions. I have a bunch of different tiers that you can subscribe to, and they all come with different benefits, and like getting behind the scenes, getting to even, you know, talk to me on a video call and talk about LARP stuff and enthuse or get some advice. And you get to pick some upcoming video topics as well. And I would really love to see you guys over there and interacting with me and kind of seeing everything that goes into these videos. But yeah, so I hope you guys get some time to check out my Ko-Fi, and I just want to thank again to all my old and new subscribers for sticking around and always supporting me. Thanks guys, you're really appreciated. So I'll be real, I filmed this entire video once already and the footage was corrupted. So even though it's about to be 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun might very well rise while I'm filming this, I'm going to do it again and it's gonna be great. Let's go. So we're gonna start with episode 3. And episode 3 of Malleus was in September. Now, episode 3 is kind of like our ooky spooky episode because it takes place at a really awesome camp that has a castle in it. And so that castle tends to belong to Prince Radachek, the Lord. Editing Raquel here. So I called Prince Radachek the Lord of the Vampires, and also I keep calling him Lord Radachek throughout the entire video. That's incorrect. I don't know why I said that. He's a prince. It's Prince Radachek. I don't know. Maybe it was 6 a.m. and I was just too tired. Anyway, I'm going to continue with the video. Of the vampires. Now, the thing is about Prince Radachek is that he's been a reoccurring villain since the playtest, and what's super cool is that he's not just like a, oh, you're gonna kill him and win kind of guy. No one's ever killed Prince Radachek. But the cool part about like the character like coming back again and again as a villain is that there's always new things to like find out about him or his plot or new ways he's scheming. There are a lot of politics in the game that is like a kind of low-key active thing that kind of guides certain narrative beats, and you can bet that he is doing a ton of political scheming to keep the expedition off his back and to keep the nobles back in the main empire happy with him so that we can't kill him. And so this ever-ending cycle with this super antagonistic villain who's been around for hundreds of years, and it's like a cat and mouse, and it's really fun. So September is always our big ooky spooky month. Where we enter into this, it's nighttime, and the castle is looming over in the distance. Now, a lot of, when Odette arrived into the sanctuary, of course, the tavern had to be set up and maintained and cared for, and she's serving drinks to everybody. But everybody starts going off on expeditions, either to go delving, or like to the dungeon to get resources, or possibly even Witchstone, or to go to the castle to be part of Prince Radachek's audience. Now, there were a lot of players that were part of that audience. Some left because they were so suspicious of this lord who's definitely not a vampire. He definitely is a vampire. But of course, he's so hospitable, right? Well, it turns out that one of the envoys that went was Milos and Isidore, Odette's arch nemesis, Isidore. And Malleus, as you guys may have heard from like the previous video, he was the Blade of Wrightsburg, and he's kind of this headstrong character that is very much one of Odette's vying suitors. And so that night, he and Isidore went into the castle and didn't come back for a really, really, really long time. And to the point where like other people started to notice like, hey, where are those guys? And everyone's like, and it turns out they were in the castle doing mysterious deeds. I spent most of my time that night just like chilling in the tavern. I did get a really interesting poem just placed on the bar. This one, actually, in fact, right here. And now Odette can't read, but she had somebody read it to her.
Let not my love be called idolatry, nor my beloved as an idle show, since all alike my songs and praises be, to one, of one, still such, and ever so. Kind is my love today, tomorrow kind, still constant in a wondrous excellence. Therefore my verse to constancy confined, one thing expressing, leaves out difference. Fair, kind, and true is all my argument, fair, kind, and true varying to other words, and in this change is my invention spent, 3 times in one, which wondrous scope affords. Fair, kind, and true have often lived alone, which 3 till now never kept seat in one.
Everybody was like, girl, who's writing these letters to you? She's like, I don't know, but like, oh my God. And so Odette gets a mysterious love letter once again, no idea who from, but that night, Toulouse was actually, again, at the expedition. He had been called home to take care of some business because he was touring, speaking at a bunch of colleges with Isidore. And now he had come back from his tour and seeing, I guess, his family. And the thing is that Odette and Toulouse had set up an arrangement. Now, Odette doesn't know how to read, but she wants to learn. She wants to learn how to read and to write. But it's illegal in her country, in Markland, for her to learn. And it's illegal for Toulouse to teach. But Toulouse came up with a great idea that he could just, well, court her and use that private time to teach her how to read. And so he asked her formally to go on a picnic. Now, he came up to the bar to let her know that, you know, everything was in place and that the picnic would be ready in the afternoon the next day. And Odette was really excited and somehow also found herself to be a little bit giddy. She'd never been on a picnic before. No one's ever done something so nice for her. And she made sure to ask for formal time off by Lady Beatrix, the Baroness. And she made sure everybody knew, hey, all the official channels, I have this time off, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, great. I'm going to go on my picnic and it's going to be wonderful. Huzzah! And that night, I remember wrapping up actually a little earlier than usual. And Odette took note that she didn't see Malleus again that night after he left the sanctuary, which worried her. Because there's a lot of rumors about Prince Radicek, and she's seen Prince Radicek himself. And he is charming and alluring, but he is deadly. I'm also going to have a clarification here that Prince Radicek is played by the same player that plays Rosmus, Captain Rosmus. So there's not too many appearances from Rosmus in episode 3, but it's because he's busy being Lord Radicek. So, yeah. So the next day I get up, of course, Odette does her daily religious observances for Solcon in the sun, and then it's gonna be time for the picnic. And she's so excited. And now, you have to understand, Odette works every day in that tavern. And like, I actually do cook food at the game. And up until this holiday event, I have cooked for 14 events straight. Since the very first playtest. And it's something I do really enjoy. It's like just me donating my love and labor to the game. I just really, really enjoy doing it. So, this was actually a moment where it was like, wow, okay, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna go and we're gonna have our picnic and it's gonna be wonderful. And Toulouse had gotten hurt or injured earlier this morning, but he ended up being okay. And we had to push the picnic back by a little bit. So I think instead of it being at like 1, it was at like 2:30 or whatever. It doesn't matter. But we walked right outside the sanctuary about 10 feet. And Toulouse had this cute basket backpack on. And he laid down a beautiful blanket and pulled out a bottle of wine and some strawberries, because the player of Toulouse actually asked me like what beverages I like and, you know, what fruits I like. And I just also thought that was super, super considerate. So like, thank you so much. That was really kind of you. And we sat and we started to, well, read and learn. Actually, Odette brought out the poem that was given to her, and she wanted it explained to her because she didn't understand what the poetry even meant. And Toulouse begins to. But as they're, you know, getting comfy and sitting with one another, a bandit shows up. And Odette's like, she actually goes up to the bandit and is like, please, I never get time off. And I really would just love to enjoy my picnic. And she pulls out a single silver mark, which is like hella money. And she goes, I will give you this if you just leave us alone. And the bandit takes it and he just walks away, and we're like, whoo, conflict averted, love to see it. So we sit back down and we are going over and, you know, trying to write letters with each other, and then the bandit comes back and we're like, dude, and it was like 10 minutes, like the bandit did his rounds, okay, and he came back and Toulouse was like, oh, dude, we try to give you the out. And it's just like that perfect Malleus humor where it's like, well, guess you're gonna have to die. And he just takes out his blade and kills him. I mean, like, what else is he gonna do? He has to do what I mean, like, he's a villain. He's gonna hurt us. He's gonna freaking stab us. So sorry, you know, you gotta die. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. And we, you know, Odette's seen all of this shit, okay? So she's just like, whatever. She looked away and she was like, I'm sorry you had to do that. He was like, I'm just glad he didn't hurt us. And we go back to teaching and we're having a merry time. And Odette looks at Toulouse and she's like, I'm really enjoying this, actually. Like, thank you so much. Like, I knew, like, reading and stuff would be difficult, but I've really appreciated this time with you and to get to know you. And he's like, me too. And it was just like this really sweet moment. And then we see this red and black dot start to walk towards us. And we're like, oh, who's that? They get closer. Uh-oh, it's Milos. Oh no, they're walking outside the gates of the sanctuary. Oh no, he pulled out his sword and he goes, you there, peasant man. And he goes, stand up. And Toulouse is like, oh no. And Odette's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Oh my God, stop. What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop. And Milos goes, who do you think you are, taking our peasant away from her tavern so she can't complete her duties? He goes, I'm going to challenge you to a duel. And Toulouse is like, well, on the lady's honor, I must accept. And so the noble swordsman challenges the untrained peasant to a duel. And then, after they set terms, you know, whoever gets the blade to them first, you know, loses. And at this point, the commotion has drawn out both Markland and Lioness, and Lioness is like, this is ridiculous, you know, but it's a duel, so, and they're honor bound, and so they have to respect it. And Markland's just like, oh my God, dude, stop, please, oh my God. And the duel begins, and Milos wins. He stabs Toulouse, and Toulouse loses gracefully, but in his smug attitude, Malleus goes up to Odette and he goes, well, now you're free to return to the tavern, and I'll show you what a real picnic is like. She's like, how dare you? How dare you? I can't even. And she was so mad that she actually just stormed off and went into the tavern and screamed. And the Baroness was like, my dear, what's wrong? And she goes, Malleus, he just came and he ruined my picnic and he challenged Toulouse to a duel and he stabbed him. And the Baroness went, I'm sorry. What? And she gets up and the whole Black Watch gets up with Silas and all of them included, and they like march out of the tavern towards wherever Malleus was, which, by the way, Malleus was getting like the heat, man. Everybody was like, dude, you are an actual piece of human garbage for what you did to Odette. And also Toulouse. Toulouse did not deserve this. Why are you, you are like the worst dude. Which was, thank you so much to the player of Malleus, because that was such great play, and it takes a lot of balls to do something like that, especially since it was like such a cute little scene and he just like decimated it, and it was just, mwah, it was perfect. Malleus actually gets punched in the face by a fellow Marklander, berated by all, while Odette is being comforted by Lady Imogen, who's trying to explain that basically Malleus is into you and is super jealous, which like Odette is like, no, he hates me. He's not into me. He could never be. He's a hateful man. And and like, it was like pure chaos for a good like 20 minutes of him getting repercussions for his actions. And once I had all cooled for a minute, the Baroness was like, you are going to apologize to Odette. We had given her sanctioned time to do this. Who are you to ruin this for her? And so he actually apologizes to her. And she doesn't really, I mean, she accepts, but she doesn't want to look at him anymore. And she storms off with the captain and some of the Black Watch to go dungeon delving. Now, delving in the game is, I've kind of went over this in the overview video, but it's like we play, it's kind of like a game of Dread, where we flip over these cards to navigate these dungeons, and if you have certain skills, they can help you when you're in there and you pull out Jenga pieces. And of course, if the Jenga tower falls, that is your unfortunate demise of whatever the card you pulled was. So it's really fun, and the difficulty levels go up as time goes on, and it's very fun. And so Odette doesn't usually get to go delving, but she was so angry she wanted to blow off some steam. So she takes her broom, her bucket filled with bread, and she's like, I will assist you guys. Which everybody was like, you know what, girl? Yeah, come with us. You need a moment. Which, of course, Malleus doesn't hesitate to come outside and taunt her. Why are you bringing this bread? You know, where do you think you're going? And stuff like that. And she just rolls her eyes and walks away and sticks her tongue out at him. Now, we go delving, and she goes delving twice. Now, this is definitely like heading into like sunset territory. So when I went delving the second time, people wanted to go skirmishing outside of the boundaries of the sanctuary because that's where it's legal to do so. And I didn't. So I was like, okay, there's this path here that I'm gonna take into the forest, and I'll just take it back to the sanctuary. Now, here's the thing, at the very beginning of the game, the staff was like, yeah, there's this path back here. It used to be walkable, but I think it might be a little bit overgrown, but it might also still be good, right? It was not good. So I try and navigate this path, and the sun is going down, okay? And I have my torch, but the sun is going down. And I'm like, okay, this is bad. Like, I don't really know where I'm going. It's getting thick in here, and I don't want to get, like, lost. So I wait till the sun goes down to, like, the horizon so I can see the surrounding lights, and I go to what I thought was the sanctuary. I climb over some bushes, and I'm getting, like, twigs in my hair and everything. I pop out right in front of Radachic's castle. I swear, did not script this. Did not want that to happen. And as I come out, there's a group of skeletons and like demons and stuff like that that were approaching the sanctuary to fight. for the dusk assault. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I like literally go up, I put up my hood and like I crawl and hide and kneel in the bushes and just hope they don't see me, which they don't. And they just keep walking. I'm like, oh good, I'm safe. And then I just like pop out. And they're like, no one's there. Except as she thinks she's safe, I hear halt. She's like, oh. And one of the castle attendants spotted her. And so she's like, and I had this little basket with me too. And I was just like, okay, I have bread and like apples. I was like, I have a gift for Prince Radachek as a sign of goodwill. And they were like, well, come into the dungeon, give me that. And so they put me in a coffin, which Odette is like, I hate this, and is screaming. I mean, she's in a castle with a bunch of undeads in a dungeon in a coffin. There is commotion. It's like, when I was in that little box space, it's like, I have no idea how much time passed. It could have been like 3 minutes. It could have been 15 minutes. I don't know. It was so nebulous. It was very spooky, but I loved it. And, eventually I hear the door slam open and I hear, it's your lucky day, girl, come on. And they grab me and they're bringing me through the dungeons. And I have to say, you know, we always decorate at Malleus to keep things in theme, especially if we're having like encounter areas. And the thing is that there's like a facade of a castle with a drawbridge, and then there's a courtyard, and then a 2-story building that's usually filled with bunks, and then like a pavilion. But the pavilion was completely decorated to have like all its walls covered in stone. It was so cool. And then the 2 stories were also enclosed off, and they basically became this like walk through dungeon haunted house experience with like lighting and fog and chains and cobwebs. And basically all of Freeport donated their time for these couple of hours to just be all the spooky minions. And Freeport's a very large group, so it was like about 13, 14 people. It was so freaking cool what they did. And kudos to the entirety of Freeport for making that happen. That was so awesome. And the staff, really, you guys brought your A game. So we're going through this room that used to be, they're like using the bunks as a way to create a maze, but they're all covered in like stuff that makes them look like stone walls. So it's like you're trying to go through this maze and Odette's being pulled, and all of a sudden, as she's screaming, she hears, Odette? And she goes, Malleus? And he's like, Odette! Odette! And she's like, Malleus, please help me. And he goes, don't worry, I'm gonna get you out of here. And like she could hear him struggling against his chains, and they throw her into this corner of the dungeon. And she's like clutching her basket and everything in it. And she's like, oh my God, like, what's gonna happen to me? Am I gonna die? And then Malleus gets thrown right next to her, and he's clearly super injured. Like, I think they must have slit his neck, and he was like barely able to speak. And he was trying to assure her that, you know, she'll get out. And he asked her, he goes, do you trust me? And she's like, yes, of course I do. Girl. So this banshee comes in, all white, and she gets real close to Odette's face. And she goes, oh, aren't you a pretty young little thing? And she like starts to suck life force out of Odette, which of course harms her, but her devoutness does protect her from the corruption. And of course, Milo starts screaming like, get away from her, you ugly wench, which of course the banshee immediately snaps to him and goes to threaten him. And just as she's about to do something terrible, the door slams open again, and you hear, ah, my guests have arrived. And Lord Radachek is standing there in the doorway. Odette is cowering for her life on the floor, but Malleus, all of a sudden in Radachek's presence, stands up, talks normally, as if nothing would happen to him. And it was very clear that Radachek was looking for Malleus's audience. And Odette was like, what's happening? This is weird. And Radachek acknowledges Malleus, he says something to him briefly, and then looks down at her, and he goes, He sniffs, he goes, ugh, common. And that was the first time in Odette's life where she was like, yes, I'm common. I'm common. And she goes, Yes, your majesty, I am but a peasant tavern keep, because, you know what, guys? Radicek's a picky eater, and he loves noble blood. So Odette was like, okay, well, at least I know he's not gonna eat me, right? He's not gonna eat me. So he beckons us to follow him into his knight's hall, which was that pavilion that was transformed into this, like, it had like chandeliers, like, guys, it was so incredible. And as we're walking through the dungeons, we see Captain Guts in another room being tortured, and he tells the minion to stop and takes Captain Guts with us. And we all go to the Knight's Hall, and he sits in his throne and starts to monologue about good and evil. Frankly, Odette wasn't paying attention. She was busy praying, because she's like, oh my God, Solcon, please protect me. I am in deep shit. Please make sure I get out of this safe. May your light protect me, Solcon, please. And Radicek then calls up Captain Guts and one of the other wolflenders that was there. Now, there was a group of like 3 wolflenders that were just like there, keeping audience with Prince Radicek, which was like, guys, what are you doing? He's the bad guy. But they get Captain Guts and Nikita to sit next to him in 2 separate chairs, and he gives them Witchstone. And now Witchstone is a highly corrupted force, so I can resist it because I have a use of Devout, but it still makes you sick. It's basically like radiation poisoning of the body and poisoning of the soul. And so it will paralyze you if you touch it directly, and so he puts it in both of their naked hands, and each of them on the side of him are just paralyzed. Like, and then Prince Radicek asks for gifts. And so Wolflin presents him with Wolflin Maiden breast milk, which, if you watched the last episode about Malleus, you know that the player of Captain Rosmus has an affinity for milk, okay? That extends into Lord Radicek. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm gonna say about that, okay? A milk affinity, okay? So watching this, Odette's like, shit. I have nothing like that, and he loved that. How the fuck am I gonna compare? So this is probably like the most on-spot like thinking that I did, because immediately he turns to me, he's like, you there, girl, what do you have to offer me? And I have this basket, and I just lift it up over my head, face down, on my knees, and I'm like, Your Highness, I bring to you these apples and fresh baked milk bread. And so he takes a roll, and he goes, milk bread, you say? He goes, eat it. And I think he was trying to see if it was poison, because it wouldn't be the first time that somebody's tried to kill him that way. And so Odette takes a bite, eats it, not poison, and so he goes, well, thank you. And, takes the basket away. And at this point, he calls up, he goes on another short monologue, again, not paying attention. Odette's praying, panicking. He calls up Milos. And Odette looks at Milos and is like, what's going on? And then Prince Radicek looks at Milos. He's like, well, I believe it's time for your powers to awaken and for you to have your first taste. And Radicek looks at me. At this point, Captain Guts is like in pain, but he calls out, he's like, wait, your Excellence. He's like, don't hurt her. She wouldn't be to your liking. She is but pure and innocent. She is one of Solcon's devout followers. She would do no good for you. And Radicek goes, well, actually, you just made her more appetizing.
Bro, please, bro.
Odette's like, oh my God, Captain, please! Captain, please! And Radicek then goes, here, Milos, takes out a dagger, and he goes, here, take her hand, slice open her palm with this dagger, and drink. And Odette's like, what? No, Milos, please. And she's hesitant about moving. He goes, move. And she does. Of course, she's terrified. She don't want to die. And Milos grabs her wrist, and she's like, Milos, no. Milos, please. And he cuts open her hand. He's like, trust me. And she's like, he drinks her blood, confirming the fact that he is a fledgling vampire, or a transforming vampire at least. He's in the process of the transformation. And he drinks her blood deeply, and Odette is horrified and cries at the pain, and he eventually stops and looks away and gags, almost seeming like he's trying to throw the blood up, but almost seeming like he also enjoyed the taste of it. And Odette screams, stumbles backwards, and all the way kicks her feet until her back is up against the wall, clutching her hand while she's crying. And she hears footsteps come by her. And Prince Radchek gets on his knee and looks her eye to eye and grabs her wrist and brings it to his mouth after a sickening, fanged-filled smile. And of course, Odette's like, and he drinks her blood as well. After he's done for but a moment, he drops her hand and he goes, Malleus, take her and leave the castle. I'll make sure nothing bothers you on your way out. Now go. And Malleus helps Odette up, takes her arm, and they go across the Knight's Hall and start to walk across the castle grounds. And Odette's looking at her, she goes, what's happened to you? What are you? A demon? He's like, Odette, please, I can explain. She goes, no, you are a demon. She goes, you have let corruption fill your soul. She goes, you are a blood-drinking demon. And he's like, Odette, please. And as they exit the drawbridge and they start to head back on their way towards the sanctuary, Odette sees people up ahead and she screams. She goes, who's there? Please, it's Odette. And they go, lioness. And as they're walking, Milo stops and takes her hand and is like, Odette, please, I can explain everything. You just have to trust me. And she looks at him. She looks at the people on the horizon. And she takes her hand away, hikes up her skirts, and bolts. I sprint at full speed away from him. And as I'm running toward the group, which they're clearly heavily armed, and get into position as I approach, they see that it's me, Odette, the Tavern Keep. Please no kill. They're like, Odette? And as I run by, I go, don't trust Malleus. And I run all the way into the sanctuary, where I fall to my knees and cry and scream, clutching my hand, which of course everyone's like, what the hell just happened to you? And the Baroness comes over and is like, my dear, what has happened? And I'm like, I was trapped in the castle and Prince Radchek and my hand. And she's just hysterical. And they wrap her hand and they try to get her to calm down. And Toulouse comes in and asks her what's wrong. And she goes, I can't tell you here. We have to go into the church. And so they go into the shrine area and she tells him everything. She tells him about what she saw, about what she thinks what happened to Malleus, that he's clearly corrupted. And Toulouse was like, I've also been bitten by Radchek. Because in this universe, editing Raquel here once again. So I thought I understood how vampires work. It turns out I had no idea what I was talking about here. And also that even the witch hunters themselves are speculating on how they think any of this works. The supernatural is mostly left up to a mystery here in the Drakenwald. You know, Toulouse assures her that like she'll be okay, and she asks Toulouse not to tell anybody. Because even though Malleus angers her and frustrates her, he's still a man worthy of salvation. And she believes that maybe there will still be time to save him. And eventually, Malleus comes back. And he walks into the sanctuary. And Odette is giving him a wide berth. And she's behind the bar, glaring at him. And eventually he comes up and goes, Odette, I just need to speak with you for a moment, please. She goes, if you want to speak with me, we have to do it in the chapel. And she gets him to go in, and he wasn't on fire or anything walking in there, but he definitely had discomfort, which is another sign of corruption to the soul. And he says to her, Odette, I want to make the Drakenwald a better place. I want to protect you, I want to keep you safe. And if I can be strong like Radicek is strong, I can save you. I can protect you. I can make sure no harm comes to you. And Odette's like, this isn't the way. He goes, you can't control it. He goes, I can control it. I go, you can't. That's an illusion. The corruption will bleed into your soul. He goes, I can still save you. He goes, I don't need saving when I have power like this. And he goes, let me show you. And she's like, no. He goes, trust me. And she opens her hand, and he puts this bracelet that Radicek had clearly like attached to his body onto his hand, onto her hand. And in a moment, there's this heat and a stinging pain for just a second. And he releases her hand, and the wound is gone completely. And she goes, this is black magic's. She goes, you are damned. You are damned. And Malleus goes, I will save you. I will protect others like you in the Dragonwald. You must believe me. I can control it. She goes, you won't be able to. He goes, I promise I will bring you no harm. And even though what had happened that night, there was something in her soul that said maybe she could believe that he would never harm her. So they walked back into the tavern, and it was this event that it was the celebration of the Archduke's birthday, which is like the big Markland holiday. So every third episode, we celebrate the Archduke's birthday, and we have all these parties and drinks and food. It's actually super fun, and everybody brought stuff for it. It was like a giant potluck for Markland. And as the celebrations begin, Odette's like eating soup, taking a break, and Malleus is clearly trying to repair damage. It's not working. She's kind of giving him the cold shoulder and talking to everybody else but him. And as the night goes on and merriment continues and the drinks are flowing, somebody at the table tries to flirt with Odette, and she doesn't get it. Girl's very innocent, so then Malleus tries to flirt with Odette, and then somebody calls him out.
Heinrich,
I think his name is, and goes, really? That's not how you flirt with a woman. This is how you flirt with a woman. And he goes, oh, Odette, you have the most beautiful eyes, and blah, 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 blah. And Odette's like, oh, no, that was very kind of you to say. And they're trying to give like Malleus pointers on flirting with Odette, which of course she is like stonewalling him. And she's also testing him and trying to goad him into revealing himself by drinking a really, really red drink. It was cranberry juice mixed with something. And so while eyeing him the whole time, and also bringing her garlic to the table slowly and like sliding it in front of her. But as his shenanigans continue, there was a moment where they locked eyes and he took her hand. And I wish I remember what he said to me. All I know is it was a really good line. Everybody at the table was like, now you're getting it, Malleus, flirting with Odette. Okay, we see you. And it was just, and Odette was like, she was like so flabbergasted by what he said. She was just like, like, baka. And then after that, you know, we all just kind of went to bed. And of course, me being a DGen, I always sleep through Sunday. So that was episode 3. A lot of drama. And I loved to see like some of the suitors beginning to be at odds with one another. It was so fun, and major shout out to the player of Toulouse and also to Malleus. That was incredible. And of course, Prince Radicek was totally awesome. Loved it. It was just an awesome experience all around. Hi everybody. So I know that was a little bit of like a harsh cut. I didn't plan for all the episodes of Malleus to be split up into 3 videos. I originally thought it would be episodes 3 and 4 together, but they were just a little bit too long. So that's why I ended up cutting there a little bit abruptly. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I just got back from playing Giovanni the Last Supper, and probably will already have talked about it a little bit by the time this video goes up. And I can't wait to make a story time about that too. There's so many videos about to be coming out that have been in the backlog, so I'm excited to get started. So yeah, enjoy the credits, and I'm gonna go. All right, bye.